Hare Krishna. So welcome to the summary of Bhagavad Gita. My aim is to provide a quick whistle-stop tour of Bhagavad Gita in this video. So let's start. What is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is for all. It's not a religious text. It's a spiritual text. In fact, it's a manual for all life. When one should read a manual on anything, for example, you buy a new equipment or gadget, when you should read a manual? After you have damaged it? Generally we do that. After it stopped working, we look at the manuals. Well, it's too late, right? So Gita is manual for human life. How one should read one's life, how one should lead one's life, what is to be avoided, what is to be accepted, what works needs to be done, what should not be done, how it should be done in order to attain the highest. Human life is given to attain the highest. So how to do that? Bhagavad Gita describes it all. And who has written this manual? The one who has created this gadget. He has written the manual. Who else can write? Who else has the authority to write it? Sri Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, the very embodiment of the Supreme Consciousness, Akshar Brahma, speaks about every aspect of human life, speaks about the nature of our mind, Prakriti, and also speaks about the Akshar Paramatma and how Paramatma and Prakriti are always together, and how the same Paramatma appears as a Jivatma, seemingly enjoying or suffering along with the vagaries of human life and the virtues of human mind. But he's not. That is the ultimate idea. When we get established in the thought that we are neither Prakriti, not Purusha, we are the Purushottama. We are the ultimate supreme reality. All our sorrows, all our confusions, doubts are dispelled. All our mohas are destroyed. So far, story began with moha only. In the very beginning, when Arjuna came to the battlefield, he was all prepared. He wanted to teach a good lesson to his evil cousins Kauravas. But on the sight of his own uncle, grandfather, and the teachers, and things like that, he got jittery. He got overcome by this delusion, this moha, and he decided, I don't want to fight. And then Krishna scolded him first. This is all happened in the second chapter. Wake him out of his depression. Krishna said, you are born a Kshatriya. Be a Kshatriya. Where did this cowardice come from? This gave a big blow to Arjuna. He got startled and came out of his reverie. Then he listened to Krishna and he said, I don't know what is right, what is wrong. I've been confused, but I pray to you to become your Shishya, Shishya Steham, Shadi Mam. Please instruct me. I'm confused. And then the manual begins. How do I use this opportunity, this human life? I don't know. I make mistakes. I may waste it. Oh Lord, teach me. And then Lord teaches Bhagavad Gita. It starts with Arjuna Vishad Yoga, which is the confusion and the sorrow of the despondent Arjuna, born out of delusion, out of ignorance, to this Sankhya Yoga, where Krishna analytically describes to Arjuna what is to be done, what is not to be done, why it should be done, and who you are truly. You are not this body and mind, you are beyond. Your body is a vesture you put on every time you come. But your Atma is indestructible, immutable, eternal. So all these truths Krishna tells and also teaches him how to discriminate between this impermanence and that permanent thing. Buddhi Yoga, he says. And then he goes on to explain that there are people in this world who live like this. Sthita Prajna, they are called. Arjuna curiosity is aroused. Oh, really? I thought this is the first time you're telling me these things to me. So I thought I am the first person like that. There are people like that. That's really encouraging. Please tell me about them. Krishna described what is to be the man of equanimity. And he explains that this man is happy within himself and he is not affected by dualities of life. So you also become like that. And don't worry about the sin that comes from the war. You may think it is a sin, but if you become equanimous like Sthit Prajna, none of these issues will ever haunt you. Then Krishna goes on to Karma Yoga, 3rd chapter. Then he explains to him how he should perform his action. Because in this world, nobody can stay without performing action. That's what Krishna says. Not for a moment. Everybody is acting, but performing some action. So how do you perform action? So that action don't bind you, but they liberate you. They help you to overcome all kind of illusions and attachments and the dualities, and helps you purify yourself to establish in that constancy of your equanimity. So he teaches Karma Yoga. After this, he goes on to Jnana Karma Sannyas Yoga. He says just renouncing the fruits of action, saying my right is only on the action and not the fruit. It's still a lower understanding. The better understanding is to find out who is the real doer in the first place. What gives you the authority to even say, I perform the action and then renounce the food? Who is the real doer in the first place? And then he explains Jnana Karma Sannyas Yoga is an explanation that all gunas are the reason why you do whatever you do. You are not even the doer. Your gunas propel you to do certain things. So do everything as the Brahma Arpanam. Everything, think of it as a Brahman itself is doing through you. You are an instrument in Brahman. The actor is Brahman. The enjoyer is Brahman. The act of performing action is Brahman. So everything is Brahman. That is the idea he conveys in this. And then we move to Karma Sannyas Yoga. He says that the right way is that you become the sannyasi of karma. You don't try to be the tyagi of karma. Don't try to renounce fruits of action, but become a sannyasi of karma. Who is a sannyasi of karma? The one who has not desire of any result out of it. You may desire a result and then renounce it, that even lower thinking. And even if you can't understand who you are, who is really the performer of the action, don't worry. Minimum you can do is to establish yourself in the thought that you are the divine. Become Yoga Yukta, and once you become the Yoga Yukta, completely establishing that yoga where your mind is the one with the supreme, there is no doership, there is no enjoyership, there is no question of doing. So where is the question of renouncing anything? Karma sannyasa you do. And then our Arjuna says, it's very difficult to establish myself completely. My mind is very fickle. Chanchalam mi mana Krishna. Very difficult. I can as well as control the wind, but I can't control my mind, Krishna. Krishna says, you're right. Most of the people have this problem. They can't establish. Even once they get there, establish themselves in that ultimate truth, soon after they fall. They are unable to hold on, stay on in that state. So do abhyasa, do practice. And then He teaches Dhyan Yoga, how to make this mind steady so that he's able to establish himself in the thought that I am Brahman and Supreme is doing everything, and never he is confused and deluded. Never for a moment thinks he's the doer or the enjoyer. That way, he'll free from the results of the action. From Dhyan Yoga, Krishna is saying that whom are you to meditate upon? Dhyana is right. Dhyana is to meditate. Steady your mind and place it on something for a long is dhyana. But whom should you do it? Then he explained who is the real entity. Who is that being on which you should do meditation? Who should be meditated upon? So comes the Gyan Vigyan Yoga, where Krishna talks about he himself being the Apara and the Para. He had the 8 various modifications in which he appears as Apara, that is the Prakriti, and beyond that there is that Para nature, the beyond supreme, which is untouched, unaffected by everything. So he says that only very rare people, after several births of efforts, somebody reaches this state. So don't expect yourself to reach it at the end of this discourse. It won't happen. It will take time. But abhyasa you have to do. Don't give up. But there are people, after many births, they have realized that divine only is everything. There is nothing other than divinity in this universe. You will also realize that. Then he encourages. Then he continues to further elaborate through Akshabrahma Yoga, the 8th chapter, where he talks about several beautiful Advaitic concepts of Brahma, Adhyatma, Karma, Adi Deva, Adi Yagna, Prayan Kala, means at the end, where do we go? If we lead a life like this, all these explanations Krishna says, and he also says that you don't know when you're gonna die, because last moment, whatever you think, that is what you attain. So that's why, remember me, think of me, because you don't know when you're going to die. We're not lucky enough to know when we're going to die. So therefore, all the time, remember me so that you can attain me without fail. Then he goes on and tells him another super secret. Raj Guhya Raj Yoga. But that secret seems like such an open secret, because he says, I am in all are in me, yet I am not in all, and nothing is in me. You know Arjuna's plight. Well, that is the idea. Krishna explains that Advaitic thought and explains to him how you can also do that. That is the Yog Maya. Everything is my Yog Maya. That's my glory. That's how I hide in the plain sight and you can't catch me. Yet I am everywhere. He explains, create curiosity in Arjuna's to know what that truth is. How it is so fascinating. What is this Maya? And then goes on and talk about various aspects of its presence. Arjuna asks, you say you are everything. Everything is in you, yet you're not in anything and nothing is in you. What is this? Please explain to me. How do you exist in all and you do not exist in anything? And then Vibhuti Yoga comes in. Beautiful description of Krishna's glory. Krishna glories means Supreme Lord's glory. Shouldn't equate Krishna with that body of Krishna. It is the supreme divinity. And he says, and Arjuna is curious, Keshu Keshu Chabhaveshu, teach me in which all ways I can think of you, because you seem to be everywhere. I'm always don't have the time to sit down and meditate on your supreme consciousness. When I'm talking, walking, working in the office, how do I meditate on you? And that is what he explains to him. Beautiful explanation. Several vibhutis are there. One of the key ones. Of all the educational knowledge, I am the spiritual knowledge. And that's what we are interested in, putting efforts to learn spiritual knowledge. And from there, Arjuna is still not satisfied. He's still hungry for more. I want to see that ultimate form of yours. How do I see that? How do I visualize that? How do I behold that form? Krishna says, hey, I'll give you celestial or divine eyes to see my true form. And he shows that Vishwarupa Darshan. The ultimate idea of Vishwarupa Darshan is not imagining itself to a huge being stretching from earth to sky with several mouths and hands. It is about Arjuna seeing Krishna in everything, in the good, bad, ugly, in the cruelty as well as in the goodness. Everything is Krishna. The death is Krishna. The birth is Krishna. The sustenance is Krishna. He is overwhelmed by this vision, and the first time he realizes who this Krishna really is and whom is he dealing with. And he falls at the Krishna's feet and said, I've treated you with disrespect at times, not knowing your true glory. And he falls, says like, Father, please forgive me like a son, like a friend, like a beloved. Please forgive me. He's thrilled by this whole thing. And he says, please come back to your normal form. I cannot behold this anymore. This is scary. Then Krishna comes back and Arjuna's Divya Chakshu, the divine vision, disappears and the regular vision comes and he sees Krishna as it is. And then Krishna says, this is what you have seen is impossible for even yogis and tapasvis and great aesthetics to see. This is something even devtas haven't seen, and I've given you this special boon. He says the only way you can do this is to develop what? Develop bhakti, develop love for me, develop love for the divine supreme, and try to be that divine. When you develop that love, you want to experience me, and I am. And Arjuna asks, how do I love you? As the Nirakar or the Sakar? The Bhakti Yoga comes now. And Krishna beautifully explains that both ways you can reach me. But because you are in the body, you have the body consciousness, it's difficult for you to directly jump and think of me as a formless one. So start small. Start with offering everything to me. And he says, Sarva Karma Phal Tyaga is the easiest way. You can do abhyasa, practice, you can do dhyana, you can do upasana. All these are difficult ones. Karma, but karma phal tyaga is the easiest way. Because the moment you sacrifice, you become pure. You become immediately perfected because there is no agitation, no expectation in you. Do that. It's the simplest way to it. You know, it's bring down the toughest of the syllabus to the simplest way to achieve it. Shortcut, isn't it? Give up the fruits of action. This is the start. After that, your heart will become pure. Your heart will become pure. Dhyana will happen. And then you will get established in the truth. And you will reach the Nirakar Parbrahman. And he says, starts here at Karam Phal Tyaga. Next, he explains what are the qualities of a good devotee. And he says, those who follow these qualities, they become very dear to me. And once you become dear to God, you become near to God. In fact, you become the God. That is the idea. From there, Krishna goes into the Advaitic side of things. As I said, there are three parts of Bhagavad Gita, right? Work, worship, and wisdom. Work part is the first 6 chapters, that is Karma Yoga. Worship part is the Upasana part, that is the second 6 chapter. And wisdom part is the last 6 chapter. At the start of this section, in chapter 13, Krishna explains, I am the Purusha in all Prakriti. I am the Supreme One, but I am also available and present in all. I am in all beings, good or bad. I only exist as Jivatma, and that Jivatma concept is introduced in many other things. So he asks, what is Prakriti and Purusha? Kshetra, Kshetrajna. He also learned about Kshara and Akshara in this chapter. And then he goes, why are we not able to experience that present everywhere? Because we have the gunas that come in our way. And these gunas, these modes of nature are something we are born with because of many birth of association, attachments, actions, and habits. So explains there are three types of gunas, Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Those who follow Sattva gunas, they rise in spiritual evolution, whereas Rajas people driven by their passion and desires and selfishness, and then stay more or less swinging like a pendulum in this world. And then there are those with terrible qualities. They are tamasic people, lazy, not interested in spiritual, not interested in putting efforts in spiritual path. These people, they go down, he says. That is why you should choose your company, because your company influences your gunas. In the presence of good people, noble people, our sattvic qualities starts manifesting, starts growing. In the company of tamasic people, our tamasic quality gets encouraged. I mentioned this before in my videos as well. Satsanga is the most important to change your qualities. You may be born in a certain way. You can't change that, how you're born. But what you can do is, this life depends on your efforts. A good company is very important. Many not have a taste for it, but develop a taste for it by constant effort. That is important. And then he goes on to Purushottama Yoga, the most important chapter, and he describes how he is not just the Purusha, he is the Purushottama. The same sun who reflects in the water and appears to be captured in the little pot of water is only a reflection. This also is the sun, the one above. The one down is also the sun, but the one above is the ultimate supreme who reflects in all the puddles and pools. So that is the idea of Purushottama Yoga. And then we have to realize that Purushottama part of it. From Purusha, we should become Purushottama. And then he explains Devasur Sampad Yoga. For some people, it's naturally inclined towards realizing self. Some people do not. And they have certain qualities. Why this is? Because this is like a small self-assessment. Take all your qualities of Devas and put it on one side. And take all your qualities of Asura and put it on another side. And start taking which all you have manifested in your life at different points of time. When we go to temple, we might manifest Devic qualities, but in a place where nobody's watching you, nobody's observing you, you're overtaken by other emotions. Think of you, and I think you should make a chart of yourself and keep assessing how you are improving in these aspects, so that why Krishna gives Dev Asur Sampad Vibhag Yoga, and we know Asur Sampad he described in great detail, because that's what most of people are unable to overcome. So he gives such beautiful explanation, and then comes the Shraddhateya Vibhaga Yoga, where he says ultimately your Shraddha is the most important quality you must have as a spiritual seeker. If you're born tamasic, if you have lots of asuri qualities, yet you develop Shraddha by virtue of association with good people, or by reading the scripture, or by coming in touch with the Guru, that Shraddha can take you forward. But again, Shraddha also be of three kinds: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And then he says, accordingly we do Yajna and Dan Kriya, charities, i.e. austerity and charity. Yajna means all actions we perform. Then again, we do Yajna of three types: Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, and Tapas or austerity we must perform for the sake of our own personal evolution. First is the duty towards all kind. So we have various kinds of Yajna towards all beings. It is for the welfare of the society and also personal welfare, but Tapa is about spiritual evolving. So, developing that focus of mind and growing spiritually is tapas. But people again do it in different ways. Some people torture themselves in the name of tapas and torture everybody around. And they are not growing at all in spiritual part. They think they are doing lots of austerities and doing lots of tapas. That's tamasic tapas, he says. And then he says all the charity. That is also people do in different ways. But there are the most important action that we must perform. Dan, Tap and Kriya. And that should be done in a pure way, the Sattvic way. This will purify us, and that purity will lead us to divinity. And that is the essence of Shraddhateya Vibhaga Yoga. In the last chapter, Krishna summarizes the entire Gita. Krishna explains the most essential instruction of the Gita. Man mana bhavmad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evashyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. The most essential teaching of Gita is that one mold their life in such a way they will always remember Krishna. We share Krishna consciousness with our family, and in that way home becomes the temple. And when we go to work, we try to share Krishna consciousness with our colleagues. And whatever work results we obtain, we offer that to Krishna. In the spare time we have, we try to do some devotional service for Krishna. Right at the end, Krishna tells Arjuna one thing, and this is the very interesting thing for us to consider. Krishna said to Arjuna, it's one thing to read the Gita, but higher than reading the Gita is to understand the Gita. Krishna says, but higher than even understanding the Gita is to live the Gita. But then Krishna takes it even further. Krishna says, higher than even that is to give the knowledge of Gita to someone else. Krishna says, for someone who gives this knowledge of Gita to someone else, there is no servant in this world more dear to me. And Krishna said, nor will there ever be. So in our lives, we benefited from this knowledge. And we are feeling the happiness and satisfaction that is coming from this knowledge. And therefore, if we actually want to become very dear to Krishna, Krishna says, speak it and share it with everyone you meet. Well, this is the whole conclusion and whole 18th chapter quick summary. This is it from me. Hare Krishna.